You are doing something right now that no other creature on Earth has ever done. Not just making sounds, not just communicating danger or food or territory the way every other animal does. You are taking abstract thoughts, ideas that don't exist anywhere in the physical world, and turning them into sounds that another brain can decode and understand perfectly. You are using language, and the fact that you can do it at all is one of the strangest and most consequential accidents in the history of life on Earth. Because for the first 300,000 years of human existence, we almost certainly couldn't. The question of when humans first developed language is one of the most debated in all of science. Language leaves no fossils. You can't dig up a conversation. You can't carbon date a word. All we have are indirect clues: bones, tools, genes, and the behavior of the few isolated communities that still exist today without contact with the modern world. But those clues, pieced together over decades of research, tell a story that is far stranger and more dramatic than most people realize. The story doesn't start with words. It starts with a bone. Deep in your throat, sitting just above your windpipe, is a small curved bone called the hyoid. It's the only bone in your body that doesn't connect to any other bone. It floats, suspended by muscles and ligaments, and it serves one primary purpose: anchoring the muscles that control your tongue, your throat, and your voice box. Without a hyoid in the right position, you physically cannot make the range of sounds that human language requires. The vowels, the consonants, the subtle variations in pitch and tone that distinguish one word from another, all of it depends on this one small bone being exactly where it is. And here's what makes it so important for our story. In 1989, archaeologists excavating a cave in Israel called Kebara Cave found a Neanderthal skeleton that was almost perfectly preserved, including the hyoid bone. It was identical to ours. This single discovery changed everything scientists thought they knew about Neanderthals and language. If their hyoid was the same as ours, their vocal anatomy may have been capable of producing the same range of sounds. The physical hardware for language may have existed long before language itself, which raises a question that has never been fully answered. If Neanderthals could physically speak, why didn't they? The answer almost certainly lies not in the throat, but in the brain. Speaking is only half of language. The other half is something far more complex: the ability to create and understand symbols. To agree that a specific sound means a specific thing, even when that thing isn't present. To talk about yesterday. To describe something that happened in a different place. To warn someone about a danger they can't see yet. This capacity, called symbolic thinking, is what separates human language from every other form of animal communication. And the evidence suggests it emerged slowly, fitfully, over tens of thousands of years. The oldest confirmed evidence of symbolic thinking dates to around 100,000 years ago in South Africa. At a site called Blombos Cave, archaeologists found pieces of ochre, red iron-rich rock, that had been deliberately engraved with geometric patterns. They weren't useful. They weren't food or tools or weapons. They existed purely to mean something. Around the same time, humans were beginning to make shell beads, small pierced shells that could only have been strung together to be worn, jewelry, objects that communicated identity and status to other people without a single word being spoken. These weren't the actions of creatures without language. These were the actions of minds that had learned to think in symbols. And once you can think in symbols, language is only a matter of time. The explosion happened around 50,000 years ago. Something shifted in human behavior so dramatically and so suddenly that archaeologists call it the Great Leap Forward. Cave paintings appeared across Europe and Asia, not crude scratches but fully realized art depicting animals in motion, hunting scenes, handprints, abstract symbols. Tools became suddenly more sophisticated and more varied. Long-distance trade networks appeared almost overnight. Humans began burying their dead with objects: ochre, shells, carved figurines that suggest they believed in something beyond death. All of this points to one thing: fully modern language had arrived. The most compelling theory for why it happened so suddenly involves a genetic mutation, a gene called FOXP2. sometimes called the language gene, plays a critical role in the fine motor control needed to produce speech. Humans have a version of this gene that is slightly different from every other primate on Earth. That difference appears to have emerged around 50,000 years ago. One small change in one gene, and suddenly the full complexity of human language became possible. And what happened next is the most important consequence in the history of our species. Language didn't just let humans communicate, it let them cooperate at a scale that was previously impossible. Suddenly, you could coordinate a hunt with people you'd never met. You could pass knowledge across generations without anyone having to be present to demonstrate it. You could warn your children about dangers you'd survived years ago. You could build a shared understanding of the world, a culture that existed in the minds of everyone who spoke the same language. Neanderthals, with their small, isolated bands and limited symbolic thinking, couldn't do any of this at the scale that Homo sapiens suddenly could. And within 10,000 years of modern language appearing, Neanderthals were gone. It wasn't a war, it wasn't a disease, it was something quieter and more absolute. A species that could share knowledge, coordinate across distances, and accumulate culture across generations simply outcompeted one that couldn't. In every environment they shared, modern humans out-hunted them, outplanned them, and out-survived them. Language didn't just change how humans lived, it determined which humans lived at all. You speak around 16,000 words every single day. You do it without thinking, without effort, without any awareness of the extraordinary biological and evolutionary machinery running behind every sentence. But somewhere in your ancestral past, one human made a sound that meant something, and another human understood it. And in that moment, something happened that had never happened before in 4 billion years of life on Earth. The world got a little smaller, and humanity got a little larger. This has been Primal Code. If you want to know what else your ancestors built that you're still using today, subscribe. A new discovery every week.